Look at this sunrise, absolutely glorious. Good morning, Rovers. Well, this is our 5th day at sea on this ocean passage from the Azores to Ireland. Now, last night we had some pretty light winds, and in fact, right now they're still pretty light, but they are beginning to fill in. The seas have really calmed down over the last 24 hours, and I think we're going to enjoy some good sailing today because the wind is from the south, and that's the direction that we want to get us to Ireland. So with a southerly wind, and it's probably going to be a south-southwest wind, we'll be able to make a north, perhaps northeast direction. For those of you new to the channel, this is Wave Rover. Now, Wave Rover is a 21-foot plywood junk rig sailboat that I built in my backyard back in Canada, and we're on a terrific transatlantic voyage right now. Well, I think it's time to go below and start making that daily meal. Go ahead, Fiona. This is the Wave Rover 2 on 16, over.
Please switch on channel 06.
Switching 06. This is Wave Rover on 06, over.
Yes, good morning, Captain. Everything is okay. I saw your speed is 1.5. You are a sailing boat, correct? Everything is okay?
Everything's okay. We just have very little wind right now, so we're not going very fast, over.
Yes, I understand. No, just for this was just for information. I saw you in the middle of ocean, so I make a call. Okay, have a good wind and good voyage. Then come back on channel 16. Bye.
Thank you very much for looking out for me. This is Wave Rover on 16, over. Well, that was nice. It's about 0400 in the morning, and it's a tanker. They are about 9 miles out right now, and yeah, they were just making a call to make sure everything's fine. We are doing, well, like he said, under 2 knots, but the wind is very, very light. So, yeah, we'll just go back to watch. Of course, it's not a surprise. My AIS had picked them up probably half an hour ago. They're steaming at 13 knots, so they're not going overly fast, and it'll take almost 45 minutes for them to pass CPA. This will be interesting. The CPA was under a mile. They were steaming on a course of 053, so I'll be checking to see if they've altered course now to open that CPA. Well, Rovers, time to do a little bit of cooking with Wave Rover. Now, first, I just want to bring your attention to something, and that's this. These are what's left over from the fresh meat that I brought on board, and the reason I'm showing you this is it only takes a second to wipe them clean and then stow them so that you can dispose of them properly when you get ashore. So what we're making in the galley is what we make pretty much every day when we run out of fresh meat, and that is Wave Rover seafood omelet. It's really easy to make. It's really easy to clean up after. You know, it doesn't require a whole lot of skills. Now, I've changed it up a little bit since our last passage, and that is because, you know, I know that this passage isn't going to be as long, so I'm using 6 eggs to make the seafood omelet as opposed to 4. All right, let's crack on. So we'll just go into the pantry here. And let's see, we get ourselves a dozen eggs. And we'll get ourselves some tins here. So the first thing we want to do are take our eggs. Now, on a small boat, you really have to balance everything because we're rolling right now and things can become pretty messy pretty quickly. So I've got paper towels standing by, and yeah, we're ready to get on with the cooking. So knowing how long this voyage is going to be, well, you know, approximately 2 weeks, I have allocated 6 eggs a day. Sounds like a lot, but when you think that you're only eating 1 meal a day, that's not really that much. We got a little piece of eggshell in there. Nicely done. So next thing we want to do is whisk these into a nice mixture to make our omelet. Okay, good. Now securing that. So the first thing I'm putting in is mackerel in brine. I've already drained the brine off out into the ocean. Brine is just salt water. Next I'm putting herring in. This is kipper style herring. That's If I didn't have this, I'd be putting sardines in. I mix the herring and the sardines up. And then salmon, just because I like to spoil myself. Now, all you have to do is just crush all this in. So then it's just pouring it into our pot. The cleaner you are, the easier life is going to be for you on a small boat. Now, Get our stove lit. Adjust the heat. I like to have it sort of, it's on a scale of 0 to 4, and I like to have it somewhere around 1.5. I find that works for me. And you cook it for about 10 to 15 minutes. Put the lid on, and that'll just accelerate cooking, and then it's an opportunity now to clean up the mess. So there it is, Wave Rover seafood omelet. Now there's a couple more things I want to do to it. First is I'm going to add this, which is iodine, and the reason is because most people who are tested are found to be very, very deficient in iodine. It used to be very common for our ancestors to get it because we lived mostly by the shoreline and we ate seafood, and that seafood of course had traces of iodine in it, but most of the food we eat doesn't have it. So if it's like meat or something I'm eating, I'll put 10 drops on, and if it's seafood like this and eggs, I'll put 5 drops on. Just like this. There we go. The reason for it is it's known to stave off or prevent glandular cancer if you have sufficient iodine in your system. And the second item is salt, and this is, as the expert told me, iodine by itself without salt doesn't do you any good. Your body needs both sodium and iodine to work properly. So this is type of salt. This is Himalayan salt. I picked it up when I was in the Azores. There's all kinds of good salts out there, but don't go with the typical table salt. That's not necessarily a very good salt at all. So that's our typical meal preparation here on Wave Rover. It's really simple to make. It's simple to clean up, and it's nutritious, of course. I call this OMAD, one meal a day, and it's a lifestyle for me. I typically only eat one meal a day, even when I'm ashore. However, sometimes you'll find me having a couple of meals a day, and that's because either I'm really hungry or I'm in a social setting, most likely, and I don't want to offend my host. But one meal a day for a guy my size, a meal this size, it's perfect. Not the least bit hungry, lots of energy, and I feel really, well, not just energized, but fit. All right, time to crack on now with a little bit of sailing. Time to head out on deck. Mid-sea between the island of Tarawa and Brisbane, Australia. I'm alone on the boat. And it's nighttime, and now is my favorite time to be on watch at night. Because that's when I'm the biggest target anyway. You know, I'm a small boat. If there's another vessel out there, I'm unlikely to be seen, even with my nav lights on. So it's a good time to be on watch. Daytime, different story. Most boats are keeping watch. They'll be able to see me, so I would get my rest during the daytime.
But at night, I remember looking up, just laying on my back in the cockpit, looking at the stars. And the stars were so clear, the night was so clear, it's the Pacific Ocean and it's so vast. And we were clipping along at a nice pace. We've got phosphorescence shooting out behind the boat. You know, green algae that appears, you know, at night. And you can see 3 lines coming out, one behind the rudder and one behind each of the bilge keels. So 3 lines of phosphorescence scooting out behind the boat as we go. And I'm looking up at those stars. And I understood for the first time in my life why it's called the Milky Way. Called the Milky Way because you can actually see the swirls. When you don't have any more light pollution and you're out in the middle of nowhere and you see those swirls, you understand. Like when you're in a city and you look up at the sky, you know because you've been told this galaxy is the Milky Way. So they tell me, but what is it about it that looks like the Milky Way? But when you're out there and there's no light pollution, it's very, very clear.
Well, let's go up and see the sunset. Very nice. Well, Rovers, we've seen quite a change today from the relatively benign conditions this morning where the sea was almost flat and the winds were very calm. Now, as you can see, I have my storm sail on. I'm fully reefed. The seas are actually, they're very confused. They're 3 meters, but they're coming from 2 distinct directions, and that has a lot to do with how rapidly the wind has veered. And the wind will continue veering right through the night, and we expect winds in excess of 29 knots by 4 o'clock this morning. So that's why I don't actually need the sail fully reefed right now, but the sun is setting, and it's just it's out of an abundance of caution that I reef before I reef before sunset. As always, rovers, thanks for watching, and forge your own adventure.